Katy Perry has one of the most recognizable voices in modern pop music. Her vocals are vibrant with a strong presence that shines through the track while maintaining clarity and versatility. Behind that signature pop sound is a carefully crafted vocal chain that gives her voice its polish and unique character. Today we are diving into Katy Perry's vocal production, from the EQ and compression to the creative effects that define her unmistakable vocal style. And we're gonna build a Katy Perry style vocal chain using only Waves plugins inspired by the exact processing technique shared by her mix engineer Randy Urbanski. We've got a lot to unpack, and these tips can help you level up your own vocal mix, so sit back and let's dive into Katy Perry's vocal chain. Katy Perry's vocals shine with a bright, powerful tone that cuts through the mix while still feeling smooth and vibrant. The key is maintaining that brightness in a controlled, polished way without ever becoming harsh or piercing. In this video, we will break down how to get your vocals sit in a mix like Katy Perry's and how to build a vocal chain inspired by her sound like this. So if you wanna build this sound, make sure you stick around till the end. Now, to make this video as accurate as possible, we dug into the actual plugin chain and mixing techniques used on Katy Perry's vocals, including the exact plugins her engineer Randy Urbanski uses to shape her sound. This vocal chain is based on the vocal processing used on Katy Perry's Teenage Dream album, the setup that Randy used to shape her iconic sound throughout the project. Before we get into the plugin chain, there are some important details we need to understand about Katy's vocal production. Randy mixes in Pro Tools, but since we are working in Logic Pro for this video, we will be using Wave Studioverse to replicate this vocal chain so you can use it in any DAW. To lock in the workflow, we checked out an interview where Randy, Katy's mix engineer, explained the exact process and plugins he used on Teenage Dream. Now, Katy's vocals are clean but full with a bright open top end that still feels smooth but controlled. Achieving that balance requires tailored technique involving EQ, compression and effects. The first thing that stands out in Katy's vocals is the bright, airy top end and the way her voice cuts through the mix without ever sounding harsh. The key to this isn't just the plugins but the techniques applied throughout the chain. With all this in mind, I've chosen a vocal take that suits Katy Perry's style.
The moonlight, ooh, here we are, no need to hide, loving under the moonlight.
Alright, we've got a clean vocal take with some nice texture, distinct, and just right for this video, it's synced to the track's BPM for a smooth fit. Before we jump into the plugin chain Randy uses for Katy's vocals, we need to look at the recording chain that sets the foundation.
Vocal chain of Katy Perry. We rotated between a vintage 47 and a Telefunken 251.
They record Katy with two microphones. I believe he meant the Neumann U47 and the Telefunken ELAM 251. While both have a smooth high end, some might still find it a bit too bright or sibilant for certain voices. Now, this is how they routed the signal into the computer.
Vintage 47 and a Telefunken 251. Both of them feeding into Neve 1073s to the CL1B. We would also kind of flip back and forth with the Martech MSS10.
Okay, so the signal goes through the Neve 1073 and the CL1B, but they also flip back and forth with the Martech MSS10. This is how it looks like on our Waves chain. We emulate the 1073 with the Shep 73. Here I'm using the preamp bottom to drive in some heat, and I've cut some extreme lows with the low cut filter. Now here is the important part. They flip back and forth with the MSS10.
We would also kind of flip back and forth with the Martech MSS10.
What we need to know about that preamp is that it's very transparent. Because of its nature, there is no plugin emulation for it, so I'm only using the in-phase plugin and only using the gain knob to make sure we don't introduce anything. So it's up to you which one you prefer on your vocal. The point is, with these devices, they want to get a good amount of signal into the DAW. However, before feeding it into the computer, they insert the CL1B compressor. With this, I believe they get a subtle control before the signal hits the interface. To emulate the CL1B, I like to use the R-comp with the opto mode on, as the CL1B is an optical compressor.
In the quiet of the night and under the moonlight.
At this point, the signal is optimized for recording, meaning that we don't run into clipping. And it has a light color that we introduced, but it's far from being optimal for the song. This leads us into the most interesting part, the plugin chain itself. It starts like this.
And we feed into Pro Tools, obviously, always starting with Auto-Tune.
He says it always starts with Auto-Tune. A great alternative for Auto-Tune is the Waves Tune Real-Time. After setting the key and the scale, it's important that we don't tune the vocal aggressively because we don't want that heavy Auto-Tune vibe. So we use the speed knob subtly as we don't want these audible artifacts in the record. The first thing I notice about Katy's vocals is the smooth, bright top end. They are airy without being sharp and everything sounds super clean. But right now, our vocal sounds muddy and a little murky. To clean up the vocal, Randy uses the stock EQ in Pro Tools.
Auto-Tune and EQ1.
We are using the Waves F6, which lets us selectively cut unwanted frequencies without affecting the overall vibe of the vocal. This is an important step in getting the vocal sit perfectly in the mix. I've removed a lot of the low frequencies. On female vocals, I tend to get a bit higher, and with an aggressive move, I remove the nasal sounds around the 700 Hz area. Spoiler alert, there is no de-esser on this vocal chain, so I've set up a band for attenuating some harshness too. Now, we have removed most of the disturbing nuances from the vocal, but we still have dynamic issues. To gain more control over the overall dynamics, Randy is using the R-Comp.
And EQ1 to the R-Comp.
We have the exact plugin here. Because we cut lows with the EQ, it doesn't really need that aggressive compression anymore, but we want to catch those peaks to achieve a groove.
In the quiet of the night and under the moonlight. The moonlight. Ooh. Here we are, no need to hide, loving under the moonlight.
Okay, the vocal sounds much cleaner, however, it's still missing that signature Katy Perry pop brightness from the sound. To get that shiny airy sound, stick with me cause the next part is very important. Here is what Randy had to say.
Just a little boosting with the Waves SSL.
He's boosting with the Waves SSL. He didn't specify how, but this red knob is very famous for boosting highs. So this is what we do here subtly. This was the first part of the shine. The second part of the pop shine is here.
Deverb, Echo Farm.
He didn't mention sends, but most pro engineers use these effects on basses and auxes. Now the first one is the stock reverb in Pro Tools. For this, I've set up the true verb, and to closely match the vibe, I've also added a deductive EQ. For the Echo Farm, I'm using the J37 on the second send, set to quarter note. Now the vocal chain is almost complete, however we need to know that they recorded Katy Perry in one of the best studios on earth.
Studio A, the Boom Boom Room in Burbank, California.
Most of us record at home or in less controlled environments, so I've added another J37 to the signal for a smoother sound to match Katy's quality. I'm carefully utilizing the wow algorithm. Another thing I've added is a limiter in case you'd like to maximize the volume. It comes in handy without having to gain stage through the plugins. In case you like to download this vocal preset, I've created these macro knobs that let you easily tailor this vocal chain to your own vocals and add flavors from some of Katy Perry's most iconic songs. And it's also part of the updated pop vocal chain package, currently discounted but not for long. Click the link in the description to get the deal. Now let's hear what this vocal chain can do.
It's getting late, I need to hear in my bed. No words to say to no dread. You touch me endless and breath. You're my safe place. I'm like, ooh, in the quiet of the night and under the moonlight.